All right, guys, the next topic in our probability unit is permutations. So please make sure you have these slides pulled up with me and split screen it so that you can see my screen and edit your slides at the same time. All right, so this first slide is introducing us to kind of what permutations are. So let's read the scenario and then we're going to fill out this table together. You will type into the sections that are that teal greenish color. I'm going to be writing because I don't have the ability to type it within this, but just make sure that anything that I am writing, you are typing into your slides. It says Colt is planning his Saturday. He wants to do laundry, go swimming, and do his homework. How many different ways are there to arrange what he wants to do? Fill in the blanks of the organized list to fill all the possible arrangements of the activities. So they went ahead and they started filling out this table and they said, okay, if Colt started with laundry, that's the first thing that he did. Then the second thing he did was swimming. Then the last thing that he could do is homework because there's only 3 options that he can do that day. Now there's another way that he could finish his day if he started with laundry, not just this first way. So the second way they showed was, okay, he did laundry first, but instead of doing swimming second, he did homework, which would leave swimming as the third activity. So go ahead and fill out swimming. Okay, so that is another option if he started his day with laundry. All right, those are the only 2 options actually that he could do if he started his day with laundry. It's either laundry, swim, homework, or laundry, homework, swim. Let's say that he's not starting his day with laundry, he wants to start his day with swimming. So first thing he does is swim. An option is that the second thing he does is laundry, and the third thing he does is homework. Okay. Now, there's another option for his day. If he starts with swimming, he could do swimming first. Then second is homework, which would leave laundry as the last activity. All right. Okay, those are the only 2 options for his day if he starts with swimming. Okay, well, let's say he doesn't start with laundry, he doesn't start with swimming, he wants to start his day with homework. So if he starts his day with homework, he's got an option here of doing laundry or swimming. So let's just say that he chose to do swimming second. That would leave laundry as the last thing that day. Oops, laundry. Okay, well, if he starts his day with homework, he doesn't have to do swimming second. He could do homework, then laundry second, and swim last. Okay, so what we just did was we filled out all of the possible scenarios or options or different ways that Colt could plan his day. And if you look, how many total options are there? Well, this whole first row was his first option. Then we have a second way he could have done it, a third way, 4th, 5th, 6th. So there are a total of 6 ways that Colt could have planned his day. Okay, so again, this is just the start of permutations, kind of showing you where we're going with this. So let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, so let's think about the same thing that we were just talking about before, but in a different way. So we're still talking about Colt. He's planning his Saturday, but now the options are mowing the grass, going swimming, or doing his homework. So he's got 3 different options here. Mowing the grass, I think, is the only different one from the slide before. So let's think about it. How many choices did Colt have for his first activity? Well, starting out, Colt had 3 choices, right? He's got mowing, swimming, and doing his homework, 3 options. Once the first activity was selected, so once he chose, okay, I'm going to do laundry, how many choices did Colt have for the second activity? Well, there are only 2 left, right? If we had mowing and then homework and then swimming, if he chose mowing first, he's got 2 options left, okay? Once the first and second activity are selected, how many choices does Colt have for the third activity? Well, let's say he did mowing, then homework. He's only got 1 left, right? So this slide is kind of important when we're talking about permutations because it makes it different than what we've discussed before, where whatever we choose for our first option affects the rest of the options that are left. Okay, and that'll take us to our next slide. So a blank is an arrangement or listing of objects in which the order is important. Well, what word do you think we're going to fill in there? It is permutations. So go ahead and type in permutations into that section. So a permutation is an arrangement or listing of objects in which the order is important. It does matter what is chosen and in what order it is chosen. All right, let's take a look at this example. So Julia is scheduling her first 3 classes. Her choices are math, science, and language arts. Use the fundamental counting principle to find the number of different ways Julia can schedule her first 3 classes. Okay, so we're talking about first, second, and third period. It could be math, could be science, could be language arts. We've got 3 options and 3 different class periods here. So if you're talking about fundamental counting, you're talking about how many options are in the first choice, second choice, third choice, right? So let's say that we're talking about her first period class. So first period, second period, third period. So let's talk about her first period class. How many different options are there for her first period class? Well, starting off, there's going to be 3 options available for her. Now, once she has selected her first period class, if we're talking about second period, there's only going to be 2 options that are left. So if she's got math for her first period, then she's only got science or language arts for her second period, right? If she's used math. So similar to what we were talking about before. Now, if she selected her class for her first period and second period, she's only got 1 option left for her third period class. So for fundamental counting, remember we multiplied those 3 numbers together, 3 times 2 times 1, which would give us 6. And there are 6 different ways that Julia could schedule her first 3 classes. So this is a little bit different than what we were doing before because the first thing that they do affects the second and third or however many options there are. So, but it is done the same way. We're going to be multiplying those numbers together. You just have to think, okay, once I've selected my first, how does that affect the rest of it? Once I've selected my second, how does that affect the rest? So for you guys, I want to make sure that you write or type out this right here, 3 times 2 times 1, and put it into where it says type out work. If you would rather write it on paper and insert your picture, you're welcome to do that as well. And then please make sure down here you also have typed out 6 ways. All right, for this next one, how many ways can 6 people in a figure skating team stand in a row for a picture? So if we've got 6 total people standing for a picture, that means there are 6 different options or places for them to stand. So I'm just going to kind of draw a visual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so those are the 6 different places where people can stand. Well, let's say that one person stands in the first slot. There are 6 different options of people that can stand there, right? 6 options. Once someone stands in that first slot, there are 5 different options or different people that can stand in the second slot. Once 2 people have stood in place, then you have 4 people left. Once 3 people have stood in place, you have 3 people left. Once 4 people have stood in place, you only have 2 people left. And then once 5 people have stood in place, you just have 1 person left. So just like we did previously to figure out how many different ways these people can line up, we are just going to multiply these numbers together. So we're going to do 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 to figure out how many different ways these people can stand in a row for a picture. So go ahead with your calculator and type in 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 and type that answer below. So the answer that I got was 720 different ways. Okay, so please make sure for typing out your work, I do want you to type out this 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 into where it says type out your work, and then the number of different ways, 720. Now remember, This is a permutation where the order matters, right? When someone stands in that first slot, it affects the number afterward, and whoever stands in that second slot, it affects the number afterwards. So in a permutation, the order is important. All right, let's take a look at this one. An ice cream shop has 31 flavors. Saad wants to buy 3-scoop cone with 3 different flavors. How many cones could he buy if the order of the flavor is important? Okay, so I kind of like to draw a visual. Here represents my scoops, okay? And when we're starting out with the first scoop, he's got 31 flavors that are an option here, right? There's 31 flavors that they can choose from. And it says the flavors don't repeat, right? There are 3 different flavors. So when they're going to scoop the second, there are only now 30 flavors that they can be chosen from. And then once those first 2 scoops have been chosen, you only have 29 that are left. So for this, again, we're multiplying these 3 numbers together to figure out how many different ways or how many cones he could buy if the order of the flavor is important. We would do 31 times 30 times 29. So go ahead and do that in your calculator. And when I did it, I got 26,970 ways. And that would represent how many cones he could buy or how many outcomes there would be with 3 different flavors for his ice cream cone with 3 scoops. Okay, so what we were just working with was like real life permutations where you've got a scenario and you're trying to figure out how many different outcomes or how many different ways there may be. Now, sometimes you may just see it written like this, where you've got a P on the outside of your parentheses, and then you've got 2 numbers on the inside with a comma separating them. Okay, so the first number that's written in this is the number of total items there are available. Okay, so this is your items or the number of things. And then the second number here, where that 3 is, that would be how many are taken out at a time. So if you think back to the scenario with the ice cream cones that we just did, or the ice cream scoops, there were 31 different flavors, and we were selecting 3 at a time, right? So here is how that would be written very simply, and then here was the work 31 times 30 times 29, okay? And then we just did the math on this, and the answer that we got was 26,970 ways, okay? So for this one here, we've got 24 items, and 4 of them are being selected at a time or taken at a time, okay? So how would we write that? Well, we would just do it the exact same way that we have been doing it. The first selection, there are 24 options. Oops. Okay, once one of them has been selected, there are only now 23 options. Once 2 have been selected, there are now only 22 options. And then once 3 have been selected, there are now only 21 options. So you do need to type out 24 times 23 times 22 times 21. And then when we figure out the solution or how many different ways that is, we would multiply those numbers together. So go ahead and multiply those together. I'm going to hit pause for a second. All right, and the answer that you should have gotten was 255,024 ways. Okay. So I again need you to make sure that you have really just at the bottom here typed out 24 times 23 times 22 times 21 and then put equals 255,024 ways. Okay, so you are going to now stop and do the practice that is below or after this slide. And you've got some real life scenarios like we started with, and then we also have some ones that we just did where it's written in parentheses. Please make sure that you type out what you are multiplying to receive full credit, and then also type out your answer. If you would rather take a picture of your work and insert it, that's fine, but you need to show your work and what you're multiplying for each slide here. Good luck, and let us know if you have any questions.